Hey guys, welcome back. Today we got a new comic, and that's called Geiger, issue number 1 by Image Comics. And okay, let's start from the beginning. I have been eyeing this comic for a while now. The reason for that is not only the premise, but especially Gary Frank, who is the artist. I'm a big fan of Gary Frank, and I'm coming back a little bit later about that. But before that, I want to address this cover. This is the first printing, and I have a big issue with my comic shop that is in the UK, and I always get different kind of comics or covers because I pre-ordered this the first printing a certain cover, but that cover went out of stock somehow, and then I have to wait billions of months to get it. So in an act of desperation, I bought just an issue 1. And why? Because I have a lot of comics here that I got from my comic shop that I still haven't, got issue 1, but I got issue 2 or 4 or 6 or whatever. I'm missing a lot of issues because they are not, returning to stock or somehow. And it took me months. And also, I ordered, just getting a little bit off topic here, but I ordered a comic, and that comic or that, issue 1 or issue 2 is never going to be in stock again. So I'm stuck with comics that I can read because I don't have the issues. So I'm probably going to switch soon from this to another comic shop, although I must say this is way cheaper than the other ones, but at least I can hopefully get the covers that I want. Okay, enough of that. Geiger. I must say, cover, nice and sturdy. It's thick, it's not thin like a lot of other covers. And so what is this all about? So it's, oh yeah, by the way, before I forget, it's by GEOFF JOHNS, it's by Gary Frank and Brett Anderson. So what is this all about? This is somewhere in the future, and the Earth is irradiated, some post-apocalyptic event, if you will. And so these two guys are measuring or reading the bottom, the ground, and they say, well, it's the levels are spiked, and he said there's an optimal breeding ground for all the nasties. So that means there's a lot of, probably bugs and other nasty creatures, running around, eating people, stuff like that. And then these two guys have a conversation about a site, a person that is roaming around without a suit, and it's more like a how do you say, campfire story-esque conversation, about a guy that they call Joe Glow, the man of destruction, the walking bomb, the Meltdown Man. So that's nice. And then we skip a few pages. And then we skip to the past. And this is in a house in the Nevada desert. And we see this guy screaming at his wife and kids that they need to go out and go into the bunker. Because, if I'm reading this correctly, there is... it says here, the president declared he would not fire unless fired upon, but the revolt is unprecedented. So there's... So basically they're on the brink of war somehow. We don't know all the reasons before that, but that's also not really necessary. What's important that it's going to happen, and that these people needs to go and say, hide in a bunker. So that's what they're going to do. But then the little kid, his boy, says, "Hey, the dog is barking. What is he barking about?" And then we see a rocket, a bomb, going into the air, and then sets off that. Well, nuclear winter is coming. Skipping a few pages again. So he gets the dog, he goes back, and then he gets shot in the leg because, well, the neighbor's coming. And there's some product placement here, like Mercedes. And his name is Tariq, by the way, this guy. And these are, the typical bigots, because that's what... Okay, let's not go there. People like to call out that name because he said, "Sorry, neighbor, but we are taking that shelter. probably his people started this. So there is some prejudice here. Is that how you say it? Prejudice? Prejudice? Prejudice. I probably butchered that. So basically, they want the bunker, of course. Tariq shouted at his kids and his wife, "Shut the door! You need to shut the door." And then, against the will, she's gonna do that. And then the neighbor said they closed it, and the dog won't shut up. And she shoots the dog. And then this bully says, "You need to get on your feet and tell them to open the door." He says, "Not happening. You do it or you die." And Tariq says, "I'd do anything to protect my family." And this fat bloke wants to shoot him, but then this happens. And I'm going to show you something really, well, I got to show you. So basically, look at this image, going off. You see the mushroom, beautiful colors, by the way. And we see them, getting ripped to shreds by the blast or radiation, or maybe a combination. I'm not sure how that all works. And there's darkness. So we skip 20 years. And in the 20 years, we see some guys. Basically, they are scavengers, raiders, if you will. And they discover something. And it discovers that they are seeing this, some kind of a, I don't know, hideout, bunker, if you will. Bunker. So they want to raid the place, but then this guy says, "Hey, you said you're trespassing," and spoiler, this is, who is this? This is Tariq, because you know what the last name of Tariq is in this comic? It's on the cover. His name is Tariq Geiger. That's his real name, which is a little bit on the nose. Come on. You name him Tariq Geiger. If you name him after his, becoming Geiger, then yeah, you can call yourself Geiger, just like Clark Kent or Kal-El can call himself Superman, or Bruce Wayne calls himself Batman. But his real name before he gets here was Geiger. Come on. That's a little bit on the nose. But hey, so basically, he threatens those trespassers, and the trespassers say, "Hey, that's the man in the suit." And said, "Well, that cannot be. He ain't glowing, and he is sure ain't 15 feet tall." So there's some boogeyman stories going around about Tariq, which I like. And one of those guys says, "You wanted to stay out? You should have put up a sign." And they're shooting at him. And Tariq jumps down and he says, "A sign, huh? What would it say?" And he said, "Keep out or lose your teeth." And he's beating them up. And he's basically kicking their asses. And then he has some, I don't know, these sticks he pulls out. And then he says, "Hey, you want a sign? I'm going to give you a sign in neon." And he is slowly, changing into Geiger. I really love this whole pose, although I'm not a big fan of hoodies. I never was. I don't know. I just don't like hoodies in comics. It's supposedly has, I don't know. I don't like it. It just looks weird. Also, the cape doesn't do it for me, but it is what it is. I love the design, I don't know, I'm not sure if this is some kind of a radiation suit. I love the lighted detail. So are this just sticks that, are resistant to radiation, that it's not melting? Or is this actually radiation rods? Is that how you say it? That makes probably sense. So basically he, not really fighting then. He just scares them off. He says, "Boo," like a spooky guy, or like a, like in comics or in TV shows. Says boo, and people running off, and he transforms back into his human self. And then he hears a bark, and there's a dog. Well, it's more like a dog with two heads, which is actually funny. So he goes back to his home, his shed or whatever, and he says, "Hey, what I'm gonna reading today? Moby Dick again, Because Before Dying, Palace Walk, Junkyard Joe." And then the dog looks at them with the two. He says, "Yeah, I know, I'm bored of them all too. what would I said, what I wouldn't give for a new book, but nobody writes anymore. So yeah, so he sits down and he looks at his, cans of food, which all is, dog food or soup or beans, and it's all the same. And he's getting a little bit depressive. He's quiet, looks at him, and then he start eating. But then after that, he's going outside because this is the bunker that his family is in, and he says, "I know you can hear me, but I'm here until it's safe to open the door and we can be a family again." And he's getting emotional. So this is 20 years later. So probably his son and daughter is growing up, if they are still alive. Not sure. So yeah, that's gonna be a shocker because I think eventually the door is gonna open at some point in time. And then we skip to another place, and there's a guy on his knees, and he is talking to a boy, if you will, with a crown on, and the boy is just, shouting to his painter, making a giant painting with him on the top of a dragon, slaying the dragon, and then he says, make the whole thing again. The dragon needs to be bigger, my shoulders needs to be broader. But the guy, some subject, if you will, is on his knees, and he talks about, about the glowing man, and that there is a pact between him and other factions. And but the food is scarce, so basically they want to, attack the glowing man, or stay away from them. But the king is a little bit mad, if you can call him a king. And he says, he said, you can come, but it's too dangerous because they want to raid him or something. And then he's freak out. You never questioned my father when you served him, so don't question me. So he says, get in the night. I want to find this myth of a man. And then he runs off and said, this is the opportunity that he's looking for to slay something. And then he's, talking to himself, shouting. And it looks like a castle, but there's something glowing here. And I'm not going to reveal what it is. But basically he says, I will bring back the glowing man head, and I will prove that I am a more powerful man than my father ever was. So this guy's a lunatic. And skipping in the last page, it's not going to show. And this is basically a simple layout of the other factions. So we have here the king. We have, what's his name? Safari Bob. We have Nero in this Nero's palace, I presume. So if you are from American country, you probably know where this is. In the Nevada desert, somewhere around that. So there's a lot of factions with probably bosses, if you will, with all their own powers and minions and, dealers like that. Power brokers, is that how you say it? People in power. Let's say that. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the video. By the way, this is at Sniper and Slug, little girl, sniper, cool helmet, very cool. Coming soon. I wonder. Looks great. Here's the gun, she's the bullet. And there's also a cartoon on the back, which is nice to see again. So yeah, Geiger, quality great. I didn't talk about Gary Frank, but I'm going to do that probably another video because we are at the 40-minute mark, so I'm going to stop. As the first setup, I like it. So there's not much, going on when it comes to action, but the setup, post-apocalyptic world, what happened before, the bomb, Geiger itself, fantastic design, looks great, except for the cape and the stupid hoodie, but that's my personal preference. Yeah, cool, Geiger, get it, it's cool. It has GEOFF JOHNS and Gary Frank in it. You can't go wrong with that. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop rambling. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.